Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a city that somehow contains two entirely different worlds, depending on exactly which century you're standing in. We're going to take a journey through the staggering 400-year evolution of New York City. And listen, this isn't just a dry timeline of dates and buildings, right? It's a story of relentless, constant transformation. From a quiet little island to the very heartbeat of global finance and culture, the sheer scale of this evolution is nothing short of breathtaking. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. Back in 1624, the absolute humble beginnings of this place consisted of a tiny Dutch settlement on the island of Manhattan, with just 300 people. But today, it's a modern titan. If New York were its own country right now, it would literally have the 10th largest economy in the entire world. So how on earth do you get from a few hundred settlers in wooden cabins to a global financial superpower? Well, to figure that out, we're going to start with part one, birth of a metropolis going from New Amsterdam to a booming city. To really grasp that incredible leap, we have to look at the timeline. Like I said, in 1624, the settlement of New Amsterdam was basically just dirt roads and wooden cabins. Flash forward to the 1800s, and the city was mostly contained to lower Manhattan. Just imagine horse-drawn carriages, streets lit by these flickering gas lamps, and believe it or not, an eerie quiet that fell over the city after dark. But then, bam, we hit the 1850s. The population absolutely exploded to 500,000 people. Immigrants were pouring in from Ireland, Italy, Germany, all of them crossing the ocean to chase that American dream. But that rapid expansion came with a really heavy human cost. The reality of the 1850s was pretty brutal for these newcomers. The dream was often met with the harsh reality of incredibly cramped apartments, filthy streets, and rampant disease. History is driven by human struggle, right? And the early foundation of this massive city was built directly on the unbelievable endurance of the people just trying to survive in those early neighborhoods. Which brings us to part two, the Golden Age, defined by skyscrapers and bright lights. That earlier struggle really laid the groundwork for an era of explosive upward growth. As we roll from the 1920s into the 1940s, the skyline was radically altered. Skyscrapers started piercing the sky one by one. Down on the ground, Times Square began to light up the night. With Broadway shows absolutely booming and jazz clubs packing in massive crowds, New York completely cemented itself as the undisputed entertainment capital of the world. The energy back then must have been absolutely electric. And honestly, nothing represents that ambitious energy quite like this number right here, 410. That is the exact number of days it took to construct the Empire State Building back in 1931. I mean, think about that for a second. Just 410 days to build a 102-story tower that became the highest building in the world at the time. It wasn't just a cool feat of engineering. It was literally the ultimate towering symbol of the American dream, forged in steel and stone. And this brilliantly illustrates our next focus, part three, then versus now, looking at a century of contrast. Let's start with Times Square. If you look at the 1920s, it was characterized by gaslights, horse carriages, and relatively simple billboards. Fast forward to today, and it is a complete sensory whiplash. We're talking massive LED screens, blinding neon lights, and a staggering 330,000 pedestrians passing through there every single day. It's wild. It has literally evolved into the busiest intersection on planet Earth. The way people move underwent a massive leap as well. Back then, it was all horses, trams, and dirt roads. Now, the city operates on this incredibly complex vascular system of 472 subway stations. Every single day, 5.6 million people rely on the New York subway to live, to work, to survive. It's essentially the vital machinery keeping the entire city alive. But it's important to remember that not all evolution erases the struggles of the past. Sometimes the problems just kind of evolve alongside the progress. In the 1900s, slums forced 10 people into a single room with no clean water or bathrooms. Today, sure, the city is famous for its smart buildings, rooftop pools, and luxury penthouses. Yet the sobering reality remains that over 60,000 people in the city currently face homelessness. It's a really stark reminder of the deep complexities within a modern metropolis. Now, the engine driving these drastic shifts, is sheer density. Just take a look here. In 1800, the city held just 60,000 people. A century later, in 1900, it exploded to 3.4 million. And today, 8.5 million people call New York City home, and that's just within the city limits alone. That sheer, massive density is the engine driving literally every change we've talked about so far. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the city's deep past continues to serve its massive modern population. Take the Statue of Liberty, unveiled in 1886 as a beacon of hope for immigrants. It now welcomes 4 million global visitors a year. Or the Brooklyn Bridge, which opened in 1883 as the longest suspension bridge in the world. Today, it handles over 120,000 vehicles daily. And Central Park, begun way back in 1857, remains an 843-acre sanctuary for 42 million visitors a year. It just goes to show that some things absolutely stand the test of time. Moving into part 4, tragedy and rebuilding, focusing on the true spirit of New York. Because standing the test of time often means enduring unimaginable hardship. We really can't talk about the evolution of New York without discussing its darkest hour and the profound resilience that followed. Back in 1973, the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center were completed. At 110 stories each, they instantly became the defining silhouette of the New York skyline. They were a bustling hub of life, with 50,000 people working inside them every single day. Then came September 11th, 2001, a day that fundamentally changed New York and really the whole world forever. Both towers fell. Nearly 3,000 innocent lives were lost. It was a tragedy of just unfathomable scale, striking at the very heart of the city. But as the history of this city shows us time and time again, New York never stays down. From the ashes of that tragedy rose the One World Trade Center in 2014. And its height, that is absolutely no accident. It stands at exactly 1,776 feet tall, chosen specifically to mark the year of America's independence. It is a towering physical manifestation of American resilience and the city's completely unbreakable spirit. Which leads us right into part 5, the modern global capital. The city that never sleeps. Remember that tiny Dutch settlement of 300 people we talked about at the very start? Well, today, over 200 different languages are spoken on the streets of New York. It has transformed into the most culturally diverse city on the entire planet. The whole world literally lives in these 5 boroughs. So the crucial point is that this density and diversity translate directly into massive global power. The city's GDP sits at an astounding $1.7 trillion. New York doesn't just participate in global industries, it leads them. From finance and technology to fashion and entertainment, from Wall Street to Broadway, it is the undisputed heavyweight champion of modern economic engines. Which brings us to the core of what we've been exploring today. New York is more than just a city. It's an idea of hope, of resilience, of dreams. From the muddy dirt roads of New Amsterdam to the 100-plus skyscrapers piercing the modern skyline today, the city is a living testament to what human ambition can build, rebuild, and continuously reinvent. And that leaves us with this final thought. We've traced 400 years of constant, unyielding transformation. We've seen buildings rise, fall, and rise again. We've seen horse-drawn carriages give way to millions of people riding the subway every day. So, as you look at the city that never sleeps, I want you to ask yourself, after 400 years of constant evolution, what will New York's next chapter look like? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.